Many of you have been asking about this, so let's compare the 3 best over-ear ANC headphones from SoundCore, and we'll tell you our personal picks at the end. Goedendag, we're DHRME. Dudes have rinsed my ears. Let's first get the confusing names out of the way. We're talking about 3 ANC headphones here from SoundCore.
The oldest, Live Q30, the slightly newer Live Q35, and the latest and greatest, the Space Q45. Both Live products, the Q30 and 35, are practically identical. They're very hard to distinguish from the outside. So boy, are we glad we got them in different colors. My pink color here is especially cute. You get the same selection of colors on both these models, black, blue or pink. The Space Q45 on the other hand does have some changed design elements. Gone is the articulating cup attached to a hinge. It also has a slightly thicker ear pad and slightly deeper ear cups. The headband design is also a bit different, with the Q45 having less padding on it and no pink for the Q45. Only black, blue and white. Then there's the buttons. Their placement again, largely the same. The older Live 30 and Q35 do have separated volume buttons though, which are easier to hit. The older models are a bit confusing with their control scheme. Their right cup houses a touch sensor. Touch and hold toggles transparency mode. Doing that again puts you in normal mode. You have to use the ANC button on the left cup to go to ANC.
To be fair, SoundCore gets credit for clearing up the confusion, and it has changed it for the Q45. You just cycle between all 3 modes with a single button. In the app for the Q45, you can select what the noise cancelling button cycles through. Since we personally never use the normal ANC mode, we turn that off. You can also program the same button for a double press to turn on or off the bass up preset. The other difference is that SoundCore has changed from 2 separate volume buttons to a single rocker style one. Makes sense since it makes it easier to find the button based on feel. But we had no issue with the Q30 and Q35 after getting used to it. And in terms of looks, what do you think? We think that all of these are definitely not small, but at least they're not garish either. Except that pink.
The headphones are foldable and fit snugly into their hard shell case. However, the older models give you a velvet clothish pouch which you can use to store accessories, whereas the newer Q45 doesn't have that. Just throw the cables and airplane adapter in the case and hope for the best. I mean, side note, who needs an airplane adapter, right? I was recently on a flight that had Bluetooth in their in-flight entertainment system. Anyway, all of these SoundCore headphones are very similar in their build quality. They're all made primarily with plastic with some metal across the headband. There's faux leather on the headband and ear cups, and by bending and flexing them, they all are pretty much creak-free and don't feel like they'd fall apart. However, when shaking the headphones, you notice that the Q45 is a lot firmer and it doesn't sound like a box of screws. So unless you go around shaking your headphones, you should be fine with any of these in our opinion.
Comfort-wise, you'll notice that the Q30 is the worst. The cups are not as wide and deep as the others. And this is something you will notice even if your ears are not on the larger side. The roomiest is definitely the Q45, with the Q35 being nicely in the middle of all 3. We'd be happy with either of those. The padding on the ear cups is very supple and smooth on the Q45, whereas on the Q35 it's less so, with visible stitching as well. Although the Q30 doesn't have the stitching, the amount of padding is very similar to the Q35. Overall, we like the cups of the Q45 and feel the Q35 is a close second. But the headband is where the Space Q45 has the least padding. So you might start feeling it more on the crown compared to, say, the Live Q35 or Q30, which have equal amount of cushioning on the headband.
Guys, we literally took these 3 headphones in our hand baggage on a plane and tested them out in a real life freaking plane ride. We think that deserves a like, don't you? Anyway, in those real life conditions, as well as our regular simulated conditions, with both of our sets of ears, the results were fairly consistent, and we actually had to do a double take because there are websites saying otherwise. On the Q30, we could clearly hear the plane engine hum. Higher frequency sounds were also let in quite a bit. Interestingly, the mode switch on the Q30 was almost instant, so you hit the button and it instantly changed modes. Whereas with most modern ANC headphones, it takes about a second for that to kick in. But still, overall, it was alright, and we put it at a tier C. The Q45 is clearly superior and a step up. We could still barely hear the plane, and the mid-higher frequencies are more present. But overall, a solid tier B.
In terms of overall sound reduction, the Q45 is about the same as the Q35, but it is still better. Also tier B though, because the cabin noise isn't completely eliminated. The Q45 also features a wind noise reduction, which we thought didn't quite perform as advertised. The Q45 also comes with all the bells and whistles, an adaptive ANC mode that changes your ANC in real time based on ambient noise to reduce the ear pressure feeling and save battery, and a customizable 5-band scale to change how much ANC is active. Nice.
So how well do these headphones let in your environmental sounds? The Space Q45 and the Life Q35 came in at a very respectable tier A for us. At this price point, this is amazing and even beats the likes of some premium pairs of headphones from brands like Bose, Bang & Olufsen, Bowers & Wilkins. The Space Q45 also lets you tweak the transparency on a scale of 1 through 5. It lets in a good amount of volume and maintains clarity in the mids and the highs. The low end is cut a little bit, so it's not really lifelike. Life Q35 takes a slightly opposite approach. Despite being in the same tier, mind you, it lets in more of the low end and slightly less of the high end like voices. And also there's no levels of adjustment on transparency for the older Life Q35 and Q30. And speaking of the Life Q30, how does it perform? It's clearly a tier C, guys. It lets in a decent amount of volume of ambient noise, but the issue is that it can sound somewhat processed. So in a pinch, yes, they're usable, but they're definitely not the most comfortable for extended transparency use. What we are not fans of is the sound of a fan. Not you guys, we love you guys. Thanks to you guys for getting us to 50K subs, by the way. Check the links in the description if you want to know how you can support us more and, help us become an independent, entertaining, informative channel that we really aspire to be. Back to the fan. We mean the whooshing fan noise when we put headphones into transparency mode, also called white noise or the noise floor. This tends to be a problem, especially on cheaper sets, but we're happy to report it's quite negligible on these 3 sets of headphones. There's a tiny bit, but it didn't really bother us when it came to a quiet environment.
Like we mentioned in the design section, the Life products have a touch sensor you can use to toggle between a transparency and normal mode. But if you want ANC, then you'll need to use the button for that. That same button also can be used to toggle transparency and normal mode. This seems to be an attempt to copy Sony's quick attention feature, and it just ended up being kind of redundant and confusing. We much prefer the single button on the Q45 to cycle through all the modes. So on the Q35 and Q30, we just ended up ignoring the touch gesture altogether and just used the button instead. In the SoundCore app on the Life models, you get some ANC modes for transport, indoor, and outdoor. In our testing though, we couldn't notice much of a difference, so we left it on one of them and went about our business. Oh, and speaking of business, if you're going to use these headphones for calls, then we need to pop popsicles and test it. Pop popsicle, ice icicle, test. What do you think? Our take is as follows. The Life Q30, albeit the cheapest, did quite well. Yes, you heard a lot of the background noise, but the voice clarity and volume was very decent. The Life Q35 did better with managing the amount of background noise, but in the process, my voice was also less loud. And unfortunately, the Space Q45 was the harshest for trying to cancel out background noise, which in turn compromised the voice clarity and volume. Now, if you plan to use any of these in a quiet home office situation, then anyone will be your best friend. I mean, not anyone, I mean the headphones. And good to know, you are able to change the ANC modes while on a call and adjust volume. What you won't be able to do is mute the mic from the headphones directly. Alright, Fuckman out. And for budget headphones, you don't expect much in the way of additional features, but SoundCore gives you some excellent extras. And it's not very straightforward either. For example, you'd expect that the highest model here has all the features, right? Well, pretty much true, except in one case, the wear sensor to play or pause your music. That's only on the middle model here, the Q35. The Life Q30 and Q35 also have an NFC pairing feature that you can use with Android. Oh, and the included audio cable for the Life Q35 also has an inline remote. Luckily, all 3 feature multipoint, which is fantastic to see, but only the Space Q45 lets you actually see and interact with the device list in the app.
So let's get to the core of the sound on these SoundCores. Well, first off, with all of these, you get a ton of customization through SoundCore's app. EQ presets, check. 8-band custom EQ, check. LDAC, Yes, on the Q45 and the Q35. Hear ID for custom sound adjustment based on your hearing, only on the Q45. All right, sound-wise, let's talk about the default SoundCore tuning on these headphones, the SoundCore signature they call it. Well, let's start with the Q35. The way I would call the sound signature is excellent bass, serviceable mids, passable treble. It's an overall warmer sound, but it still sounds relatively clean. Timbre is nice and instruments sound realistic-ish. Bass is solid, bass head approved, as El Jefe would say, shout out to him. It's got thundering sub bass, very enjoyable for hip hop. However, for rock, I thought that the sound signature was less flattering, making things sound quite congested in the mix. This is not rock, but in a track like Taylor Swift's I Knew You Were Trouble, Taylor's version, of course, the Q45 brings Taylor's voice into the spotlight and delivers a wider sound overall. Treble is a bit brighter too. The slightly problematic treble artifacts are, no pun intended, more trouble on the Q45 compared to the Q35. The closed hi-hat hits, for example, just sound a bit fizzy. And where does the Q30 fall in this list? Well, for us, clearly the inferior product sound-wise, but not so fast. It's still not bad and actually excels in one area, mids. And while there's no weird treble issues, the bass is less impressive on the Q30. It does plenty of bass, which is good, but it just doesn't seem very accurate or articulated. It's kind of flubbering around a little bit. So in essence, you get a ton of customization on all of these, but the Q45 is the top dog, the Q35 is the bass monster, and the Q30 excels at mids.
Well, why didn't you just say that? Moving on. So which one would I pick? With the $20 difference in price between the more expensive Space Q45 and the Live Q35, I'd go for the Space Q45, no doubt. But if the difference was in the area of $50, I think I'd be very happy with the Live Q35 since it brings so much to the table already. So for folks who own the Live Q35 at the moment, don't upgrade yet and see what SoundCore has in store for their next flagship.
For me, the choice is also clear. The Space Q45 is just a little bit better across the board, and it also gets discounted fairly often, so you could grab them for a lower price than what we've stated. Guys, videos like this could have very well been a sponsored video with us just showcasing these products, and but we just don't accept money from companies whose products we review. We think that helps keep us objective, and our real sponsors are you guys, our patrons and our YouTube members.
For the price of a coffee, you can contribute to our dream of building an independent, entertaining, and informative YouTube channel. And even if you aren't a member or patron, thank you very much for watching this video. It really matters to us. Stay subscribed.
You've been sponsoring us in many ways.
And we've been DHRME.
Namaste.